You wake to the sound of chains rattling somewhere in the dark. The stone floor beneath you is so cold, it feels like fire against your skin. When you try to move, the iron shackles cut into your wrists. You're no longer in your hillside village, where you once chased goats and helped your mother grind grain. That life ended just 3 days ago, when slave traders swept through your home like a swarm of locusts, taking what they wanted, with sharp eyes trained to spot their next profit. Your name is Kais, a simple Celtic name, passed down from your father and his father before him. But that name stopped belonging to you the moment rough hands dragged you out of your family's hut. Now you're not a son or a person. You're property, a number on a list, something to be priced. The man inspecting you speaks clipped Latin, his tone all business. He runs his fingers through your hair, as though testing the quality of fabric, then lifts your chin toward the torchlight, studying your face as if you were merchandise. This one will do, he says flatly. A Greek man with sharp, calculating eyes nods in agreement, scratching notes into a wax tablet. Celtic stock always sells at a premium. Look at that hair, like spun gold, young enough to shape, old enough to train properly. You don't understand every word, but you know the tone. It's the same voice your father used when selling livestock at the market, weighing value, deciding price. Only this time, you are the livestock, and the marketplace is Rome, a city with an endless hunger for beauty it can own, break, and consume. The journey to Rome is a blur of misery. Crowded wagons, tiny rations, the smell of fear. Other children are crammed beside you. Some cry day and night. Others sink into total silence, like the light has gone out inside them. The ones who frighten you most are those who start adapting. They repeat Latin words the guards use. They bow and smile, hoping small gestures of obedience will earn them favor. But nothing prepares you for the sight of Rome's slave markets. They aren't chaotic or desperate as you imagined. They're organized, controlled, polished, especially the markets that deal in what the Romans call delicati, delicate ones. These places run with the efficiency of a military camp and the presentation of an art gallery. The preparation begins at once. You're scrubbed until your skin burns pink, then rubbed with fragrant oils that make you smell like flowers you've never seen. Your hair is cut and styled by a man who's clearly done this to hundreds of boys. They dress you in a plain white tunic, simple, but designed to highlight your youth. It's a costume meant to trigger specific desires in whoever comes to buy. The inspection is humiliating. Wealthy men circle around you like hunters evaluating prey. They peer into your mouth to check your teeth, run hands over your arms, measure your legs and shoulders, as if you were marble for a sculptor. Some try speaking broken Celtic to test your obedience. Others touch more casually, watching to see whether you shrink back or stay still, whether you cry or hide your tears. In the end, it is Marcus Lucalis who buys you. He is in his 40s, soft in the belly from years of good living, with sharp, thoughtful eyes that see everything. He studies you carefully, turning your face toward the light, running his hands across your arms, like a man inspecting a fine piece of art. How old? He asks the dealer, though his expression shows he already knows. 12, maybe 13, the dealer answers. The perfect age, young enough to train, old enough to interest. And look at those bones. He'll age beautifully for a few years before you'll need a replacement. The words hit you like a slap. You're not just being sold, you're being purchased with an expiration date built in, destined for the moment when your value will decline and you'll no longer be wanted. The deal is made with the ease of buying bread. Coins change hands, documents are signed, and in that instant, you belong to Marcus Lucalis as much as his sandals or his cloak. He doesn't speak to you. Slaves aren't worth conversation. Instead, he gives orders to an older servant, neatly dressed, who will take you to your new home. The villa is breathtaking. Marble floors, patterned with mosaics, walls painted with mythological scenes, gardens where strange plants release sweet perfumes that make your head swim. But beauty here has teeth. Every lovely detail is only the backdrop for your captivity. Your training begins at once. The man in charge is called Alexandros. He, too, was once a favorite, but has grown older and survived by becoming useful, managing his master's household of beautiful boys. His voice is calm, even kind at times, but behind it, you sense the detachment of someone who has long stopped forming bonds with those who will eventually be replaced. The master values intelligence, Alexandros tells you, handing over a strict daily schedule. You'll study Greek philosophy, Roman poetry, arithmetic, and music. Your diet will be controlled so your body stays pleasing. You'll bathe twice a day with oils to keep your skin soft. And above all, you'll learn refinement, how to walk, how to sit, when to lower your eyes, when to appear attentive but not intrusive. You'll become the perfect companion, not too bold, not too dull. The lessons are endless. Mornings are filled with languages, Latin and Greek, but also the subtle tones required for senators, merchants, or guests of status. You are taught to sound respectful without seeming servile, intelligent without threatening your master's authority. Afternoons are for culture. You memorize long passages of poetry to recite on command. You learn the myths painted on the villa walls so you can discuss them in the way that pleases a Roman noble. Careful, never too clever. Then come music lessons. Here, at least, you find a brief escape. The lyre answers your touch with sounds that take you away, if only for a few minutes. But even this is stolen from you when you realize every song you learn is chosen only for how it will please Marcus Lucalis during private moments. And then there is the physical training, not to make you strong or enduring, but to preserve the soft, youthful beauty that first caught your master's eye at the market. Your food is tightly controlled to stop your muscles from growing, a deliberate effort to keep you from looking like a man. Herbs are slipped into your meals, oils are rubbed into your skin, and specialists give you treatments meant to preserve a youthful face. The physical changes are harsh, but the mental shaping is quieter and far more damaging. Bit by bit, your trainers chip away at who you are. Your birth name is forbidden. You are called Ganymede, after Zeus's beautiful cupbearer. Memories of home are dismissed as childish fantasies. Your old life is described as nothing but a dream, and this new life is presented as the only true reality. The most corrosive lesson is taught slowly. Your worth is measured only by your ability to satisfy your master. Success means staying beautiful, staying young, and remaining perfectly obedient. Failure doesn't just bring punishment, it means being declared worthless. That idea is hammered into you every day, with rewards when you complain thin, unmistakable threats when you don't. The other boys around you are both friends and rivals. There's Alexis, a Syrian boy with dark eyes, who arrived 6 months before you. He's learned how the household works with frightening skill. He shows you how to apply cosmetics to bring out your natural coloring. He teaches the exact way. His master prefers his wine mixed. He warns you which questions to avoid and which topics will get you in trouble. Then there's Dionysius, a Greek boy who has lived in the house for 3 years. He glides through the villa like a shadow, beautiful but distant. He follows orders with perfect obedience and gives no sign of an inner life. The other boys whisper that he is what happens when someone surrenders completely to the system, still useful, but no longer entirely human. Your first private summons comes 3 weeks after you arrive. Alexis spends the day preparing you. He chooses a tunic that flatters your slim frame, arranges your hair so it catches the lamplight, and applies subtle cosmetics that emphasize youth without looking fake. He coaches how to enter the room, where to stand, and how to answer, so you never sound either too eager or too shy. Remember, he says as he makes the last adjustments, you exist for his pleasure. Your thoughts, your feelings, your desires, they don't matter right now. What matters is giving him what he wants in this moment. Sometimes that means talking, sometimes sitting quietly, sometimes offering more intimate service. Your job is to sense his need and meet it before he has to ask. The walk to your master's private rooms feels endless. It is only a corridor, but your bare feet make no sound on the marble, while your heart thunders in your chest as if every servant can hear it. The guards at the door step aside without a glance. You are not important enough to merit their attention. Then you are alone with the man who owns you. Marcus Lucullus reclines on a couch, draped in silk, a cup of wine in hand. Scrolls lie around him, showing he has been reading. He has removed his formal toga and wears a simple tunic, but that casualness only makes his authority sharper. Come here, boy, he says without looking up. His voice is neither cruel nor kind. The tone used to summon a servant. You move slowly, figuring out how close he wants you. When he gestures, you step nearer. Turn around, he orders, and you obey, moving carefully so he can inspect you from every angle. His gaze runs over you with the same thoroughness you remember from the slave market, taking in the results of weeks of grooming and training. When he nods, relief and shame rush through you at once. Relief that you passed, shame that your value depends on his approval. Alexis tells me, you learn fast, he says, setting down his wine and giving you his attention. Recite something Greek for me. I'm in the mood for philosophy. You begin a passage from Plato's Symposium, something beautiful you have memorized. As you speak, you watch his face for signs of pleasure or boredom and shape your voice to please him. When a particular line makes him smile, a strange pride flares in you, and you are disgusted by that pride. You are being trained to find satisfaction in his approval, exactly as intended. Lovely, he says when you finish. Your accent needs work, but it will come with time. Sit beside me. No, closer. I want to feel your warmth while I read. The next hour passes in an intimacy that feels nothing like any relationship you knew before. You sit perfectly still while he reads, and he sometimes strokes your hair with the casualness one might show a favored pet. He reads passages aloud, and then asks questions that test both your mind and your training. When your answers please him, his touch grows warmer. When you fail to follow, his attention withdraws, and that withdrawal becomes something you fear far more than any physical pain. This is the rhythm of your new life. Long days of training and preparation, evenings, answering whatever form of companionship he desires. Sometimes your role is intellectual, discussing philosophy or poetry, where you must seem engaged but never challenge him. Other times, you are decoration, a living sign of his taste and wealth, while he entertains guests. And sometimes the demands go further, into intimate territory your previous life never prepared you for. You learn that both your mind and your body exist to satisfy him. The lavish room, the expensive lessons, the grooming, all of it is part of a system built to make you a more perfect possession. You are not a person who happens to be owned. You are an object shaped for use. The psychological damage is worse than any physical harm. You begin to blur the line between performance and self. Manners you adopted to please your master become automatic. Interests he encouraged start to feel like your own. Most troubling of all, you find yourself caring for the man who has stolen your freedom and remade you to his liking. The other boys adapt in different ways. Alexis becomes a skillful manipulator, reading their master's moods and steering them to his advantage. He whispers private tricks about encouraging generosity and staying valuable even as beauty fades. The key, he tells you in a rare private moment, is making yourself indispensable for more than your looks. Learn his business so you can give useful advice. Run the household well so he relies on you. Build ties with his important guests so your social usefulness keeps you needed. Beauty ends, usefulness can last. Dionysius has chosen a different path, total surrender. He has erased himself so thoroughly that wants, fears, and hopes seem gone. He follows commands without hesitation, provides every required service, and lives in a kind of passive obedience where resistance is unimaginable. There is a peace to him, but it is the peace of someone who has died inside rather than someone who lives. You try to find a middle way between Alexis's cold calculation and Dionysius's complete surrender. You hold on to small parts of yourself while learning the rules of survival in a place that will keep reshaping you so long as you remain. You do your tasks well, and you fight to keep a small, private self inside you that the household cannot touch. It's harder than you expected. The whole system is built so resistance is not only difficult, it becomes almost impossible to even imagine. When every part of your life depends on pleasing your master, when your sense of worth has been rebuilt around his approval, independent thinking starts to feel strange and foreign. Months pass, then years. Your body begins to show the first quiet signs of manhood. Your voice deepens, and you must learn careful breath control to hide it. Your muscles start to fill out, forcing ever stricter diets. Stubble appears and must be removed every day. Each physical change brings fresh anxiety about whether you will still be useful. The household keeps changing. New boys arrive, older ones leave. You watch the whole cycle unfold. The terror of newcomers, the slow fitting in, the careful jockeying for position and favor, and finally, the quiet way people are discarded. Once youth can no longer be hidden, some are sold to other homes. Some are freed with small pensions. A few simply disappear without explanation. You form tangled ties with the others, There is true friendship, but also sharp rivalry. You support one another and warn each other about the master's shifting moods. In dark times, you offer comfort. At the same time, everyone knows that any one of you might be sacrificed to keep the rest safe. Favor means better food, gentler treatment, and more security. So you compete for it, even while you care for each other. The world outside the villa still moves. Armies march, politics shift, societies change, but all that news feels distant, like stories from another life. Your world shrinks to the villa's walls. Your worries are immediate and practical. How to survive another day, how to avoid angering the master, how to stay useful. Now and then, something from your old life pierces the fog. The smell of bread can bring you back to your mother's kitchen. A merchant's accent might remind you of your father. Those memories hurt so much that you learn to push them down quickly, forcing your mind back to the life that keeps you alive. Your master grows older too, but his aging only deepens his power. Gray hairs appear, lines form at his eyes. His body grows heavier with wealth. Those changes add to his authority. They do not threaten him. For you, however, age is the slow end of usefulness. The knowledge that your time is limited gives every day a strange urgency. Each successful performance feels like buying more time. His continued pleasure becomes something you crave. Small kindnesses, a soft touch, a real conversation, an expensive gift, feel precious even when you know they honor only a possession, not a person. Some boys crumble under the pressure. They volunteer for more degrading tasks. They turn cruel toward others, or they simply break. Others, like you, find a way to accept things with a kind of steady professionalism. You do your role well and try to keep a small measure of dignity. The system is clever at making its victims take part in their own exploitation. You learn to anticipate the master's wants and take pride in meeting them. You grow competitive over who gets to serve. The training is so complete that you begin to adopt your captor's values, measuring yourself by their standards. Over time, this becomes a form of Stockholm Syndrome. Freedom no longer looks like a possibility. When you hear about people who tried to escape, your first reaction is not admiration, but confusion. Where would they go? How could they survive? What would they even be without the roles they have been taught to play? That is the power of the system. It does not only hold your body, it occupies your imagination and makes alternatives feel impossible. Still, small resistances survive. You keep pieces of your original language in your mind. Though you never speak them aloud, you hold memories of your family, though you rarely let them surface. Most crucially, you retain an awareness, faint, stubborn, that your life as it stands is not the only possible life. Eventually, the end arrives with the same quiet efficiency that marked your entry into this life. Your master's tastes shift toward younger boys. Your body, moving toward maturity, no longer fits the role as well. There is no dramatic showdown or tearful goodbye. Instead, there is a measured talk with Alexandros about what will happen next. The master has arranged your manumission. He tells you with the same calm professionalism that has shaped every part of your training. You will receive a modest legacy and letters of recommendation for work in a senatorial household. Your education and deportment make you useful for administrative or tutoring positions. The irony is bitter. The very abuse that trapped you also taught you skills that open doors in the free world. Your schooling in languages, literature, and social graces makes you employable. Your perfect manners and automatic deference mark you as an ideal subordinate, yet those traits were forced into you by conditioning. When freedom comes, it feels less like liberation and more like displacement. Years of having every hour organized and every choice made for you leave you unready to decide for yourself. You have been trained to predict others' wishes so thoroughly that naming your own wants becomes almost impossible. The world beyond the villa is wide and full of chances, but you have no map for living as a free person. The boys you left behind show the different roads you might have taken. Some will find a way to turn their survival skills into honest work and a new life. Others will struggle without the strict routine that once ordered every hour. A few will never leave. They will age into roles like Alexandros's, becoming part of the same system that once trapped them. When you step away from the villa for the last time, you carry more than useful skills. You carry scars, the ones people can see and the ones they cannot. Those marks will never quite fade. Your story joins thousands that Rome's historians chose to ignore, voices silenced by a society that preferred its triumphs to its shame. The empire that made this system lasted a long time, and through that span, many boys like you passed through its machinery of desire. Their names were forgotten, their lives were written off as minor notes beside great stories of conquest and culture. Yet their suffering was real, and their survival was remarkable. Their stories deserve to be remembered, not hidden. In the end, you are both wounded and resilient. You were shaped by forces you did not choose, but you are not defined only by those forces. The boy taken from a Celtic hillside and the man who walked away from a Roman villa are linked by a fragile but unbroken thread of identity. That thread, thin at times, holds a basic human dignity that even careful, cruel systems cannot fully destroy. Now the marble halls stand empty, the gilded doors have fallen. The empire that made such exploitation normal has long crumbled to dust. Remembering these forgotten voices means confronting the human cost behind what history often celebrates as civilization's gains. To name their suffering is to accept responsibility, to notice similar patterns when they appear today, and to refuse to look away. The faces change and methods evolve, but the core dynamic stays the same. People with power finding ways to use those with less power, especially when youth and beauty are involved. Their hidden lives were never truly secret. They were simply ignored by those who did not want to see. By telling these stories now, we make sure that their pain is not meaningless, and maybe, in a small way, we keep others from walking down the same torch-lit corridors toward doors that should never open for children.